Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to talk about how we can eat healthier even if we have a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. It's totally possible. It might require a bit of willpower, but we're also going to use the power of psychology and use what I'll later explain as the nudge system to make small changes so that they'll compound over time to a much healthier diet. Who am I? Well, if you're new to Wolfic Anxiety, I'm Chris Wolfic. I'm a qualified psychologist. I'm the co-founder of the Leeds Anxiety Clinic and the mental health charity Anxiety Leeds. I have nutrition qualification from all of these places, and I'm also an author. I've written a couple of books on anxiety and nutrition. So I think you're in the right place if you want to eat healthier and struggling with some anxiety and stress and find that gets in the way of doing that. And it can do. These are some of the things that anxiety can get in the way and cause us to do in terms of our diet. So what can anxiety cause? Well, it can cause overeating, just as eating too much all the time, always feeling hungry, always putting calories into our body, and thus we end up gaining weight. Can also cause us to undereat, not eat enough. We're not going to be covering that in this video because that's a very separate and serious condition, and so if you're struggling with undereating, this isn't the video for you, unfortunately. It can also cause eating the wrong things, making bad choices that we know aren't healthy, aren't great for us, but have strong appeal, and we'll talk about why. Can cause snacking, too much eating between meals, again when we know we probably shouldn't, but we just can't resist it because we're just so tired or we need the energy. And it can also cause comfort eating, making ourselves feel better and relieving some of the stress just by eating, even though we're not necessarily hungry or want the food. Why do we end up in these situations? Well, there's a number of very valid logical reasons why this happens. First of all, stress and anxiety are really hard, really unpleasant, and if we're in pain, if we're in suffering, food can make us feel better. And so it's almost a form of self-medication that we eat to make ourselves feel happier because of all the stress and anxiety and the pressure that we're under. It's also incredibly tiring. Anxiety and stress make us feel tired, exhausted, like we have absolutely no energy. And food is where we get our energy from. So if we're feeling like that, it makes sense that we would go to food as an option to try and make ourselves feel less tired, give ourselves more energy. Eating also gives us something to do. A lot of people with stress and anxiety feel the need to be busy the whole time, and if we're just sat there with our own thoughts can be uncomfortable, and so just giving our hands something to do, our mind something to do, thinking about eating can distract from that anxiety and that stress. Life can also be incredibly stressful, and so sometimes our meals aren't the best planned. Some people find that there is so much stress going on in life that there's no time and no opportunity to plan proper meals. And also if we're exhausted, if we're tired, then finding the energy to make proper meals, to make the right healthy choices can also be really difficult as well. So it's very easy to find ourselves in this cycle where we don't really have the best diet, we're eating the wrong things, we're eating too much, we're eating at the wrong times, we're making poor choices that we know aren't great for us, and that leads to low mood. And because we have low mood and more stress and we're not mentally on our sharpest game, then that causes us to make it even more difficult to plan proper meals, to avoid snacking, to make healthier choices. And then we end up in this cycle that's quite difficult to break out of. So if we find ourselves in this cycle where we know we should make a change, but we don't know how, what do we do about it? Well, first of all, I'll tell you the wrong solution, and that's just to try and apply more willpower and try and resist saying no to the bad choices and just forcing ourselves. It might work for some people, but for the majority of people, it's not going to work. And the reason is, if we're stressed, if we're tired, if we're exhausted, our willpower is already going to be depleted. And so just trying to force ourselves is going to be so difficult because we'll already be so tired and stressed that finding so much more energy to overrule ourselves is going to be really difficult, especially in things like hunger. If you think from an evolutionary perspective, our ancestors and every other animal in the gene tree needs to eat, and if it doesn't eat, they don't have access to 24-hour supermarkets. So as soon as they start needing energy, then evolution has made us really suffer and really be in pain when we're hungry, because it thinks if we don't eat soon, we're going to die. So there's no way that the human body is ever going to let us ignore that sign. It's just using willpower to suppress hunger is a strategy that's never going to work in the long term. So what will work? Well, as I hinted at earlier, we can use the power of psychology and use what we call the nudge system to make small incremental changes. Most importantly, the ones that work with our emotions and with our body rather than against them. So rather than how can we use sheer willpower and energy, which we're already lacking, to try and overrule our hunger sensations, how can we just make our body and make our mind feel fuller, make them want to make healthier choices without having to exert willpower against what we're feeling, what our basic emotions are telling us. And so we can use these nudges to make small incremental changes that together compound up to a much healthier diet. And here I'm going to share 5 nudges with you that you can implement today and start making little course corrections to start eating healthier. So let's go through each one of them. Number 1 is drink plenty of water before a meal. Now, our stomach has sensors to work out when we get full up, and that'll tell us, okay, you're full, stop eating. But if we drink a lot of water directly before a meal, we're going to fill up a lot of our body with water, and therefore when we're putting calories in, we're going to feel fuller quicker and therefore stop eating after less food. Number 2 is stop peeling things. So let me talk you through the anatomy of a carrot, if you'll bear with me. A carrot is mostly water and a lot of fiber on there as well, particularly in the skin. Now, why is that relevant? Well, first of all, when you eat a carrot, a lot of it's water, so that's not adding any calories at all. How much of it? Well, there's the same water content in a carrot as there is in Coca-Cola. They're both 89% water. So I kind of feel that's scary, because like 11% sugar in Coke is the same as all the other matter that isn't water in a carrot. But also it's got a lot of fiber in, particularly in the skin, and fiber is it's undigestible. That's why it's fiber. So you've got in your carbohydrates, you've got your sugars, and you've got your starches, and you've got your fiber. And fiber is undigestible. It mostly passes through the body without being digested. So what does that mean for eating a carrot? Well, when we eat a carrot, a load of it is just water, that doesn't add any calories, and a load of it is fiber, and that just passes through the body without adding much energy as well. So if we leave the peel on our vegetables and just eat the vegetables as they are, that's going to increase the fiber content, again making us feel full, when actually a lot of it's just going to pass through the body and not add in any additional calories. Number 3 is use smaller plates. So swap this one out for a little bit smaller. And the reason we do this is because generally when we're plating up food, we fill the plate with our portions and we tend to eat whatever's on the plate. So if we take this one and we fill it up, then we're likely to eat this entire plate. If we do this one, again, we'll fill the plate and we'll eat it all. But obviously because it's smaller, we'll have eaten less. Now, that doesn't mean if you're still hungry you can't go back for seconds. You absolutely can. But what it means is if you're not that hungry, if you serve yourself this size plate with this size portion, you're probably going to eat more than you need. If you start off with this plate, then you'll eat this, and if you're no longer hungry, you're not likely to go back for seconds. And if you are hungry, you can, but it stops us going through this process where we plate up a huge amount of food even though we're not that hungry, and end up eating it all just because culturally we tend to clear our plates. Number 4 is move the fruit bowl and hide the snacks. So for some people, they get up on a morning craving fruit. For a lot of us, that's not the case. But even though we might not necessarily crave fruit and go looking for it, actually, if we see it there, we often think, oh yeah, I could have an apple, I could have a pear, I could have a banana, whatever it is. And so if we move the fruit bowl to somewhere more prominent, really make it obnoxiously prominent, put it in the middle of the kitchen table, in the middle of the room, in the middle of your kitchen counter, then you're more likely to look at it and think, oh yeah, I'll actually have some fruit. In contrast, if you do have less healthy snacks, it's fine to have them in the house, but if you're going to do that, then put them somewhere quite obscure so that you're not going to notice them or just think, oh yeah, look, there's the mini rolls, I'll just grab one of those. You actually have to go actively looking for it in order to get one, so you're not putting them constantly on show on temptation. In contrast, the fruit is there constantly on temptation, and hopefully that should increase our fruit consumption. And finally, number 5 is to eat mindfully. So this means when we are eating, whether it be a meal or a snack, we do it mindfully by paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to the taste, the smell, the texture, the whole process of eating. And it turns out when things have a strong taste and smell, we tend to feel satiated, that's full, quicker, and so by redirecting our attention onto the food and really focusing on it, we will feel satiated quicker because we'll pick up on those sensations, but we'll also pay attention to our body signals telling us we're full, and so we can stop at the appropriate point. It's also a good argument for eating slower because, again, those signals from our body to saying we're full, they're slightly delayed, and so if we take our time eating, then we're more likely to pick up on those before we've added extra calories into our body. Now this means that it's much better to sit down for a meal and not be doing something else, so not be eating while working, not be eating while watching TV, because we don't want to be paying attention to something else while we just shove all calories into our body, because that's going to mean we're ignoring the signals from our body. Whereas if we just focus specifically on that meal, then we're more likely to get those signals, to hear those signals immediately from our body, and therefore we're less likely to put too many calories in, more than we need, more than we even really want, because we were distracted and we weren't paying attention to those signals from our body. So there's 5 nudges that you can implement straight away, and I'd encourage you to go do those. Education is great and learning this stuff is useful, but the things that will really make that change and make those improvements is you going away and doing those. So if you need to re-watch the video, rewind, go over it all again, please do. But actually make sure that you actually go away and make some of these nudges, because they're super useful, fairly easy to do, and just making those little course corrections that will help us eat healthier. So those nudges are really all you need to get started. You can go away, you can do those, and you can start making changes. For those of you who want a bit more support, a bit more encouragement, and want some more nudges as well, then I have something else for you. It's a 21-day nutrition for anxiety coaching program. So how that will work is you will get a video lesson from me every day, and you get some homework. Get a little nudge, a little change, something to think about, to go away with, and we're all going to make those changes together. So you'll get the lessons and the homework. You'll also get the community support or maybe some peer pressure from everyone else doing the challenge, so that we can all make these changes for the better and improve our diet together. If that's of interest to you, then you can join the program with the link below. Just scroll down onto the page. Whether or not you're doing that, these 5 nudges should be a great starting point that you can go and implement away. So I'd encourage you to go away now and give them a go and see what you think. If you want the additional support, then join the program as well. And for those of you doing that, I can't wait to see you in there.